fundamental principle of object-oriented programming. So, we all know that object-oriented programming is a programming paradigm in which everything revolves around an object. And we also know that object is an real-world entity which has some state and behavior. So, let's start with its foundation principles. So, there are four major principles that make a language object oriented. These are encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, and inheritance. These are also called as four pillars of object oriented programming. Let's see a diagram that is OOPS means object oriented programming, which have four principles, that is encapsulation, polymorphism, abstraction, and inheritance. Let's discuss about the encapsulation. Encapsulation is the mechanism of hiding of data implementation by restricting access to public methods. What happens in case of encapsulation is we just hiding the data implementation, and we can do it by making our variables as a private and making our methods as public, and we can access these variables through our public methods. Instance variables are kept private and access or methods are made public to achieve this. Instance encapsulation, which means private instance variable and public access or methods. We can also say that encapsulation is a technique of binding the data and functions together. Here is an example of encapsulation. Here is a class name called student, which has a method that is setRoll, roll number, and getRoll, and it has a variable name, instance variable name, that is roll. So what happen in case of encapsulation? We make the variable as a private, that is private int roll, and we can access this variable through our setRoll and getRoll method. In setRoll method, we just set the method variable, and in getRoll we just get the output of this roll variable. Next one is abstraction. It is an important feature of object-oriented programming. It provides only the essential feature of system to the user and hide all the complex problem. In case of abstraction, what happens? We just hide all the complex problems. For example, we go to bank ATM machine, and what happens in bank ATM machine, that bankers will highlight only the set of services that they are offering and which are useful for us, and they highlight only the external things, and they just ignore, or they just hide all the internal implementations, the things how the ATM machine work, the things how the money can be transferred. All these things are hidden by the bankers. So the same thing happens with the case of abstraction also. Abstraction is a functions which helps to make our program secure. As no one allowed to know our implementation detail, we can achieve some kind of security through abstractions. And we can achieve abstraction by using interface and abstract class. So let's start with inheritance. In inheritance, there is a concept called relationship. It is a relationship or has a relationship. So let's discuss about the inheritance. Inheritance is a feature of object-oriented programming using which a class acquires the property of another class. It means that one class has a relationship with another class, and this relationship is called as a child-parent relationship. A class which inherit the features of their parent class are called the base class or superclass, and the child class also known as derived class. Here is an example like parent class and the child class. The child class is derived from the parent class and hence it is known as derived class, and parent class is known as superclass. Child class have functionality of both the classes, that is it has the functionality of its own class as well as the functionality of parent class, but the parent class have only functionality of their own class. We can inherit we can use extend keyword for uh, inheritance. Next is polymorphism. Polymorphism is a feature of object-oriented programming that allows the functions to behave differently for different objects. Polymorphism means many forms. It is further of two types, static and dynamic. Static polymorphism is achieved using method overloading, while dynamic polymorphism is achieved using method overriding. So, these are the foundation principle of object-oriented programming. Thank you.